Hello YouTube, Annihilation here, and as you can see, the camera will focus to about 5 centimeters away if you give it nothing else to look at. White background, white t-shirt. So, this is the current progress of my Primaris Intercessors. The headless captain, or the headless lieutenant, sorry, is in front of you. This is the extent of the color scheme for two reasons. One is I don't like the super bright, super crazy color schemes for the Space Marines. I like the idea of their armor being tactical and then embellished in high Gothic with the winged skull and the silver or whatever. Gold is okay, but you start getting into Ultramarines territory, which of course we want to stay away from. I have blocked in the two major colors they'll be using. I'm not quite finished. There are some details that still need silver, namely, if you look at the back here, hang on, over here, come on. I know you can do it. Namely, the exhausts on the jetpack, and I think the giant metal disc in the front as well, on the back as well. This, I don't know what that is, but yeah, I think that'll be silver as well. And then I haven't decided, but maybe these ankle bits as well, just to give it a little bit more of the silver. And then I have to decide what I want to do with the leather bits, the holster for the pistol, the belt, etc., etc. Brown seems the obvious choice, just straight leather color, but it kind of feels like a cowboy sort of thing, jeans and the jean blue and leather brown. So I might go with something else, a darker gray perhaps, something tactical, make it look like fabric, possibly. But anyway, this is where we're at. So what I've done since the last time is I always put the silver on. I put some more blue coats on these guys. Yes. But I really didn't do that much work. I've been trying to get better at putting colors down in a straight brush stroke. So you water it down just enough, and then you pull one brush stroke across very detailed little areas. I tried going to a tiny detail brush like this. Hang on, can you see that? That is now touching the Space Marine. You can see how small that is. To do these lines, and actually because of the length of this brush, I think like it's really easy to bend and then flatten out the brush and make the line too big or hit bits you don't want. So instead of this super tiny one, I have been using a Tamiya one. This is a Tamiya modeling brush, HG whatever. It is quite large to hold, so it has an easy grip, as you can see. And then when you touch the model, those bristles, the tip bends, which means the rest of the brush doesn't bend, so you can get into these tiny edges without ruining the color. Same with the shoulder pad. You can draw basically a line across the shoulder pad, and if you're careful, you won't hit the ridges, so the blue and the silver can be adjacent to each other. I won't say I'm good at it by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm getting better at it already, having done it on just 3 models. We're going to do some more painting today. I've got my water bottle here, or my pot of water. I've got my brushes ready. This is my wet palette. And I think I'll just show you what I mean. Some water on there. Again, fairly significant separation on the palette here. There are some areas on these models where I still need to correct some mistakes, just overrun basically. Will it focus on that, yes or no? Maybe. Where's the camera? There it is. Not really, but anyway, I'm going to do this before my brush dries out. Just fix some of these areas where the silver got on the shoulder pad or vice versa a little bit. Here it got on the arm, it looks like, yeah. I think maybe the tendency as a beginner is to stress a little bit, wanting to make sure that the first run with your brush is immediately perfect. I'm not sure that's necessary. Like, a lot of these things are relatively easy to fix after the fact, or with a second coat or a third coat, and since you're doing a bunch of coats anyway, because you're hopefully thinning down your paints, I'm not experiencing this as much of a problem. That's that guy done. Let's see if this guy needs any work. Pretty much they all do. Oh, this guy's the opposite problem. I got some blue on the silver, it looks like. Oh, I got some silver in the back there. Boom. Problem solved. If you're new to miniature painting, as in a way I am, it's always nice to have delicate features yourself. Small hands, thin fingers. Hello, focus on this. Focus, focus. There he goes. Because the hardest part is still to come. The edge highlighting that you see a lot of people doing is something that I have never tried before. And I'm fairly nervous about, because as you can see, this brush is quite large compared to this figure, and you're trying to hit the ridges on, like, you know, this little square on his wristband or whatever, just the edge highlights. So that's going to be a challenge, but we'll do that on camera as well when it comes time. Does the sergeant need any work? Sergeant looks fairly neat. Okay, which means we're going to switch to the silver. Get this brush cleaned. The silver that I'm using is called Runefang Steel. There it is for you. Citadel paints, obviously, all of them. Will you focus on that? Yes. This is just slightly watered down 2 layers, or 2 or 3 layers, as you see it now, of Runefang Steel. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to bring in a lighter metallic color, which is this one, I think. Yes. Switch that out. Stormhost Silver is a much lighter metallic color to do some lighter areas. In fact, I might actually show you that now. Open that up. Hopefully this will be clear enough. Oh, that needs more shaking. Excuse me as I vigorously agitate my paints. And yes, that is the technical term. Let's just get a really little bit on the shoulder there so you can see. Where the shoulder is at its highest, where the light would be. Can you see that, I wonder? Hang on, focus. I know you can. You did it earlier for me. Come on. There we go. That top shoulder pad on his gun side just got some of the silver. I'm not sure how well that's going to work. I'm not sure if mixing in white is going to help at all, or if I just have to bring down the shininess, so to speak, on the rest of him. But we're going to try some right here. As you can see, my hands do shake a little. I think years of working out haven't exactly prepared my muscles for miniature work like this. But that doesn't mean I'm not enjoying myself. Can you see that, I wonder? Focus, come on, I know you can. Right here. Right here, come on. Focus. This stupid camera. Yes, it did it. Okay, there it is. That skull is looking kind of washed out because of the silver, but we'll go back in there and fix it. Let's try a little bit of this. Will you pick up on this? Yes, you will. Good man. Again, I'm not sure how well you can see what I'm doing on camera, but these imperial wings on the chest are obviously a focal point of the model. And after all this silver stuff is on, I will wash them or shade them again to get those recesses to not be quite so opaque with the silver. But at least you have some idea of what I'm doing, which is the whole point. Will you focus on that? You're a shitty camera. Okay, there you can see, kind of see what I'm doing. It looks like that shoulder pad still actually needs a little bit of blue. Let's see what we can do about that. That is his gun shoulder that has a little bit of silver right there. Boom. When you fix these little areas like I've just done there, it'll look like the paint is a different color than the rest of the shoulder pad. That is because the rest of the shoulder pad is dry and this bit isn't, so you don't need to worry too much about that. To keep a consistent color mix on your palette, it's helpful to either use the same mix if it's still wet enough, or recreate it using the exact same amounts you did the first time. That's not always feasible, but if you're consistent with your mixing, you should also get consistent color results. So whatever process you want to use, make sure it's the same every time. That is not necessarily related to miniature painting alone. Nice. Now remember, our goal here is not to have these look professional. I think that's an unrealistic goal to set for yourself when you're in my position. But the goal is to get these to look nice. And I think that's not beyond my current capabilities, and I don't think it should be beyond yours to try at least. And these are my first 3 ever Space Marines. So to say, oh, you know, that's not good enough, or oh, you totally failed at that, I think is disingenuous. Like, I just don't think that's true. A failure would be quitting. Doing it once and deciding, no, I suck at this, I'm quitting, that's it, I'm done, I'm never painting again. That, yeah, I think it's fair to say you might call a failure. But that does not apply to what we're doing here. We are just trying to enjoy ourselves, paint up these miniatures as best as we can, and then move on to the next one. I mean, that's the real crux of it, right? Like, Games Workshop will keep creating, as long as they can, new models, new ranges, new exciting alien species, if that's the sort of thing you're into, you dirty Xenos lovers. Which means that even if you have a finished army, you might want to start a different one. Or you might see a model you particularly fond of, it's like, oh man, that'd be sweet to paint. Alright, get that one, paint it up. And I understand my situation is somewhat unique in that I am not currently playing a tabletop game, I'm purely in it for the painting. But even if you are playing the tabletop game, or maybe particularly if you're playing a tabletop game. What are you worried about if you mess up some figures? Move on to the next one. I mean, don't strip it and try again on the same figure. You're gonna get burned out, I think. Play it as it is. Look around you. Maybe watch some YouTube tutorials. Try it with different marine or whatever. And if you're still dissatisfied in the long run, you can come back and perhaps strip models, but realistically you're going to buy new ones anyway. Yeah, so these vents on the back of his jetpack, those are going to need a wash for sure, a shade. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, this is the bit I'm not so sure about, but we're going to try it. Can you see that? I hope so. We're going to paint this silver too. Just to give it a little bit more variety. And these guys are, after all, the Adeptus Astartes, so they're quite special, so you can do some special stuff with their armor. That needs a little bit more water. These metallic paints, as opposed to the opaque ones, the opaque colors, they dry amazingly, even quicker. They don't go on quite as smoothly, they don't water down as well. Which means, and this is sort of a motto on this channel, but you have to be able to go slow. You have to be able to give yourself time. Let this stuff dry on a first layer that maybe doesn't look that great, and then polish it up in layers 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many it takes, until you get it to a state where you're happy with how it looks. Alright, now the hard ones. There are mold lines on these models that I have not painstakingly, meticulously filed away, because they don't bother me like they might bother some other people. If you are looking to go to that next level and get rid of all these mold lines, there are tools to do that. Little mini files. In fact, I have 2 Games Workshops mini files, but I use those more for the Forge World stuff, which is more prone to having imperfections in the resin cast and things like that. Now, in addition to these Space Marines, I have something else to show you today. This is what he looks like currently. I think that's okay. You have to remember, we haven't done any highlights yet, right? So right now the silver is popping a bit much maybe, but we're gonna wash or shade the silver down still, and we're gonna get some other colors in there. And in the end, this guy especially, he'll have a flesh-colored head, obviously. I haven't decided which ethnicity I'm gonna go with. I am obviously a white person, but depending on the rest of the detail colors, you could have darker skin, or even a sort of a Warhammer 40k model sort of skin. I don't know. I haven't decided. I'm still seeing some silver where there shouldn't be. Right there. Let's see if I can get in there real quick. Yes, I can. Touche. Now then, how do we like that? Again, for a first effort, I'm not dissatisfied. If there's anybody watching this who is far better at me than painting and shaking their head in disbelief, like, how can this guy be this bad? Like, how can he just have ruined that silver line on the captain's knee thing? You're free to have those opinions, but we all started somewhere. And maybe you are, naturally talented, perhaps ridiculously so. But I am obviously not, and this is the level I'm at, and I'm happy with that. So we'll do the rest of these off camera. I'm going to show you what else I've been working on. These Marines will get their day in the sun soon enough. This is my progress on Orruk Megaboss. He is actually slightly too big for this. Okay. As you can see, his armor has been more or less base coated the way I like. Several layers of the, what is this thing called? Eshin Gray. And then double layers of a non-oil wash have brought it to the state it is currently in. The green skin, received a Athonian camo shade wash. Only one layer was necessary there, I think. And the next bit is painting in the chainmail, the pants, and the loincloth. And once that is done, we'll move on to probably the axe bits. And then finally the skull and the head, which is still separate for the time being. Painting this model the way it is, attached like this, presents some trouble, like trying to paint every single ridge inside of these armor plates or inside of here is quite hard, or at least difficult to see, I would say, if not necessarily difficult. Similarly, certain areas are just obscured by the details, right? Like, so the idea that you're going to want to paint maybe this armor plate in this right shoulder that is underneath this giant skull. So it's a bit tricky, but we try our best and see what we can do. Anyway, that is my current progress. I also primed his base. His base is a bit special. I talked about that a few videos ago. This is his base. Those rocks are from Mount Fuji. You can see some debris and texture and PVP, not PVP, well, whatever the liquid glue is, the white one. I also have some, and I haven't used any yet, but I have some Valhallan Blizzard texture paint, which basically you're just supposed to scoop on and dab around to create a snow-like illusion, which this is supposed to be. That'll be last, since he just basically comes off there. I wanted to do something special for his base because he's a special model. The stones from Mount Fuji make this special to me, at any rate, even if to no one else. So there's that, and I'm quite happy with that. The next painting video will be, again, the Marines, and maybe some of this. I think this might be interesting to show you on camera when it decides it wants to focus on it. Nope, it's still one. Oh, there it goes. Right there. Can you focus on that? Can you focus on that? Come on. It's a $200 camera and you're trying to convince it to focus on what you want it to focus on. It's ridiculous. Anyway, YouTube, this has been an Annihilation video. Hopefully you're getting something out of this the way I am. I'm certainly enjoying this. And even if you're just using me as background noise, I do appreciate you tuning in at all. So see you next time when we paint more Primaris Space Marines and Orruk Megaboss.